Hello everyone, welcome to the Green Man channel for another Friday night album review. And this Friday night I'm reviewing the latest release from Fear Factory, Aggression Continuum, released just today on Nuclear Blast. The album is 10 tracks and about 48 minutes in length. Now, this album, it seems, has been a long time coming. It was apparently nearly finished in 2017, but has not been released until this year due to various lawsuits and issues within the band. Obviously, we have seen the departure of Burton C. Bell, but in spite of that, his vocals still feature on this latest album. And Dino Cazares, it seems, thanks to his perseverance, we still have ourselves a new Fear Factory album. Now, sort of thinking, I'm a pretty big Fear Factory fan, actually. I have really enjoyed their music over the years, even the albums which some people consider less good during the middle kind of 2000s. I'm thinking I was kind of slightly less into albums like Mechanize and maybe Archetype as well, but otherwise I've pretty much thoroughly enjoyed all other albums of Fear Factory over the years. And you know, you've got some classics, particularly in their earlier 1990s era, Soul of a New Machine and Demanufacture, Obsolete, fantastic albums. I first came across them via Digimortal, which some would consider a weaker album by Fear Factory, but I really still quite enjoy that album. Maybe it's not aged that well compared to some of the others, but I still like Digimortal. Don't know if you consider that a guilty pleasure or not, but I really enjoy it. And yeah, I think that they've kind of kept a pretty much a fairly similar sound over the years. They've lost Dino for a kind of period in the 2000s, as I recall, but they have largely kept that same sound in spite of quite a few changes as well to the band makeup. So what do I actually think of this latest release? So, I mean, I think it's a pretty solid release. I don't think I'm necessarily blown away by it, but that's partly because I'm so familiar with the Fear Factory kind of typical song and structure, having listened, knowing all their other 9 albums pretty well. It doesn't feel like anything that they haven't really done much of before, but saying that there are some slight differences, subtle differences here. Even the first track, Recode, which I thought was really good, had a touch of symphonic. It felt like there was some symphonic stuff going on, not just synth here. I felt like there was certainly something symphonic, slightly more sort of, which kind of enhanced the track a bit, gave that one a real kind of interesting feel. Otherwise, in terms of track breakdown, Disruptor was okay. That was perhaps one of my lesser kind of favourite tracks. Love the title track, Aggression Continuum. That was amazing. Would also shout out the other single, Fuel Injected Suicide Machine, I think it was called. That was amazing. Really good chorus. That even had a bit of an obsolete, I say obsolete as in referring to the album Obsolete, not the word obsolete. And that had a really good, feel like a classic Fear Factory track almost, certainly from that kind of obsolete era. And Collapse had a pretty cool groove to it. That was a slightly more heavier, crushing track that they were, those kind of pummeling Dino triple note picks that he does, or the triple palm muted picks that he does with his guitar picking, which you kind of come to expect from the Fear Factory album. There was a guitar solo that made an appearance in the track The Monolith towards the end, which was kind of cool. And you had End of Line, where I kind of liked how they added that little atmospheric bit at the end, which Fear Factory sometimes do with their albums. There's quite often an atmospheric piece that finishes up the album at the very end of that track. So thoughts overall, yeah, I think this is a solid release. It's a pretty solid release, and a pretty good note for Burton to leave on, as it does seem that he has now left the band, sadly. It's hard to imagine a Fear Factory without that trademark vocal. His vocals are so kind of, they're really good, but they're very unique as well, and I can't think of any vocalists that sound like Burton C. Bell, and therefore, without him, you have to say it's hard to quite picture what Fear Factory might sound like without him. It's such a trademark vocal sound that he has. I just can't easily see their way forwards. But, bands have gone on to get other singers and sometimes have still pulled off really good music. So it's possible that the newer Fear Factory we may see in the future will still, carry on that sound. But obviously, Dino is one of the, I don't think, if not the only kind of real long-standing member now that's left in Fear Factory. But yeah, this is a solid Fear Factory album. Going to give it a 7 out of 10. I always say it could be revised later in the year, either slightly higher, maybe slightly lower. But I would say at the moment this feels like a 7. It hasn't blown me away yet, but it feels like something that'd be really cool to listen to. Perhaps sort of just when you're just kind of maybe on a run or driving around in your car or something. It's kind of got a bit of a motivational feel to it. So yeah, it's it has what you kind of the signature stuff you would expect from the Fear Factory album. There's a few really, really cool tracks on here still as well. So it does deliver for me. I'm not saying it's a bad album at all, and so 7 is probably for me about the appropriate score this latest release. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the review. Feel free in the comments to say what you thought of the album as well. Feel free to say differently if you feel differently about the album. And of course, I will hopefully see you soon. Take care, everybody. See you next time.